If marketing data is your game, Ben Smithee is the name. Let's welcome Ben to the stage.
What's up, everybody? So, as someone that's now tasked with helping to bring home on the home stretch of the conference, I have two jobs. One, make sure that you give day one first session energy. Can y'all do that for me? That was pretty good. And two, try to help make sense of all the 50 million things that have just blown your mind throughout the past 2 days. Summarize them up nicely into a bow. Make sure I don't completely contradict any of the other speakers. Add some new value and make sure you can take it home and put it to action right away. Easy task. Are you ready to go with me? All right, cool. So my name's Ben, and one of the things that I've found when speaking at these conferences is before you care what I have to tell you, it's important to learn a little bit about who I am. So I like to share a little bit of stuff. This is a little bit about me. I have the obligatory family cutest daughter in the world photo. And so I wanted to do that. Also, a little bit of background. So my background, I actually have the pleasure of splitting my time between both sides, the for-profit and nonprofit ends of the world. So what I like to do in these types of scenarios is bring a little bit of insight of what we're doing in the for-profit space to where you can apply it in the nonprofit space as well. The other piece of that is my background's actually in marketing research and intelligence. So I started a company back in '09, and we were like heavily focused in helping big brands innovate, use research and consumer intelligence to drive business forward, to drive brands forward, things like McDonald's and Coke and General Mills and all the big guys out there that can afford to spend millions of dollars on just brand lift and not sales. One of the things that I found is that organizations that are smaller than that, and most nonprofits that are smaller than that, that don't have a $50 million budget, can't afford to live on brand alone, right? We've heard a lot of presentations talk about that. Fast forward in the career, started a digital agency to where now we focus, like I said, on both nonprofit and for-profit. Small and medium-sized businesses and organizations drive growth through digital engagement. So now roughly, I have about 27 minutes to increase your business and your effectiveness at least 27%, because I figure 1% a minute is pretty good ROI for your attention. Is that valuable to everybody? Awesome. Cool. So I talked to you about one thing that I know, is I said that most of us in the room cannot live on brand and brand alone. However, the second thing that I've learned is that brand and data are the only thing that are going to separate you in the sea of sameness in the future. It's the two currencies that matter. The third thing that I've learned is that in your organizations, outdated technology and outdated thinking around marketing and advertising are going to be an absolute limiter to the growth in your organization. So I want to try to blow the lid off of all three of those areas as we summarize and kind of dive into a lot of the topics that we've broached in previous conversations today and yesterday and kind of drive it home. All right? So here we go. The world of marketing and advertising has changed. That's a unanimous yes, but most organizations haven't. If we really look at how we go about doing things, in the communication space and marketing and advertising and fundraising, a lot of that hasn't changed. And when I say hasn't changed, I mean hasn't changed in a relevant period. So if you're still trying to reach potential donors the same way you were in 2020, you're really at risk of missing the mark. But in order to change your marketing and advertising and fundraising, you have to understand how behavior has changed, right? First thing is, Gen Z broke your funnel, right? Gen Z has broken, stepped on, trampled, kicked to the curb your beautifully designed marketing funnel. I completely align with what both Tim and Jeff had said previously about the inverse funnel shape, right? I'm going to talk to you about the framework in a little bit here called the Golden Pyramid. Right? I believe that it is more like that donor mountain that we're climbing up and people are falling off, right? I do believe that in there, like Jeff was talking about, from the organizational perspective, it's both a blend of marketing and fundraising to get people up that pyramid or up that mountain, right? But how has Gen Z broken that funnel? So how your brand is seen and perceived online is the starting point for every single Gen Z relationship. Right? It doesn't matter. It starts and ends online. And so in that space, right? We have to understand what online behavior is for the Gen Z consumer and donor space. Nearly every Gen Z purchase or donation starts online, and the more involved, expensive, or invested the decision is, the more the research phase of that is expanded, right? They do not know a world where information in the palm of their hand can be at a simple tap and swipe, right? So when we talk about how do we drive people up that pyramid or up that donor mountain, right? I'm going to talk to you about something we call the golden pyramid. Now, we've called it the golden pyramid, and it just happens to fit super nicely into the NIO Summit theme of Generosity Jones. By the way, can we give Tim, the NextAfter, Paul, all that whole team another round of applause for all their work that they've done? This is hands down one of the best events that you will ever go to. I have the pleasure of going to a ton of events, but this is always the best. And it's the only conference that I get to present in just a t-shirt, which I also, well, I guess they also prefer I wear pants as well as the t-shirt. So that's good. I did see a presenter yesterday without shoes, so I didn't know that was optional, and maybe next year I'll go with that. But back to the golden pyramid. What is the golden pyramid? As a researcher and as an executive in the marketing space, I've seen no less than probably 100,000 pages, both digital or printed out in binders, of customer segmentations, donor journey maps, right? All of these customer trackers, all of these brand trackers sit on the shelves or sit in the inbox of executives that paid a lot of money to do them, but don't understand how to apply them to their business. How many of you have been around an organization, I won't make you say it's your current organization, well, you've also seen this effect, right? We have a customer journey map, we have a donor map, we have a donor segmentation, we have a customer segmentation, right? But a lot of people don't know how to use it. I'm going to help simplify it down. Yes, customer segmentation matters. Yes, donor segmentation matters. All of those things matter. But if you don't focus on these 4 segments, you're completely missing the mark. And here's what it is. It's super simple, and you can probably memorize it by the time we get out of here. This is the golden pyramid. This is the secret to understanding your donor journey and to understanding it in a way that you can map marketing back to it. You saw Jeff present a similar version of this from the marketer fundraiser point of view, but this is from the consumer donor point of view, right? Regardless of your industry, regardless of your for-profit or nonprofit, regardless of your cause or your size, this holds true. In any given industry, any given niche focus, if you look at the target donors that you're trying to go after, you look at it roughly, there's 4 segments: unaware, aware, info gathering, and ready to give, right? At the bottom, roughly 60%, give or take, are unaware. Now, they're unaware either of your brand or your organization, unaware that they have a problem, or unaware that they have a desire to give to the problem that's out there. Now, if you go up to the next level of the golden pyramid, you have 20% that have now become aware. They've seen some of your advertising, they've seen some of your messaging or communications, they've received some sort of newsletter, they've seen a commercial on TV or in streaming CTV, right? They're now aware of your brand, or aware of the problem that you're trying to solve, or aware of the cause that they're now becoming connected to. But before they're ready to give, they're starting to gather info, right? So now I'm aware, I'm interested, I'm gathering more info, and now I'm ready to give at the top. The problem with this is that as marketers and as fundraisers, we're really good at the very bottom segment and the very top segment. We move very quickly from these awareness ads and marketing and advertising and awareness campaigns, and then we quickly try to convert to ready to give. Right? Sales, 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 sales. Convert, 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 optimize, optimize, optimize. And if it's broken, how do we fix the email? How do we fix the ad? How do we fix the messaging? Right? We miss out on what we call the zone of opportunity. The zone of opportunity is in these 37% right in the middle. Right? The 37% of your market that's aware but not yet ready to gather more info, or that's aware and now ready to gather more info and make a decision on if they care enough to give, and if they do care enough, where they're going to give. This is true against the consumer market for products or the donor market for fundraising, right? It doesn't matter, it's universal. So how do we create something that maps to that, right? Only 3% are ready to give or convert in the moment when they see something at any given time in your campaign. The most important marketing and advertising is in the middle, and your frequencies are sort of what pushes people up that golden pyramid. right? At the bottom for awareness, we just heard Brady illustrate that, that creative and intrigue move that bottom up, right? If you're trying to get them from unaware to truly aware, not just have seen it, not just an impression, but true awareness, creative and intrigue are what's going to drive that forward. So if you're in the marketing and advertising function, that creative does matter. You saw the stats that Brady just shared as well. So traditionally, what does this look like, right? This is the traditional approach, right? The traditional approach is a user sees an ad, it's some sort of general prospecting or retargeting audiences, right? And these methods have been tried and true. They worked forever until, what did we say? Gen Z broke your funnel, right? It's historically general prospecting, hit the website, bounce off the website, retargeting, come back to the website. Now we'll try a landing page, back off, retargeting, and eventually some of that falls through the website and we get a possible donation, right? That's how we started having that funnel where people are dripping down through, but we know that's no longer the case, right? Now this model, the traditional model, the old model, was focused on capturing and converting small segments of ready-to-buy customers and really negated the rest of the consumer or donor journey in this. And so we saw, based on the golden pyramid model, if we're negating the middle, we're really missing out on the whole warming cycle, the whole cultivating cycle, on getting people to truly engage with your brand and your organization. And if we're missing, who here would like 37% more in their funnel of ready to give? There we go. We all could use that, right? Like I said, Gen Z broke this model, and the important thing that's also driving this based on their behaviors is frequencies, right? Historically, we would see 3 to 5x frequencies being good at moving people up that pyramid. That's changed with Gen Z. One of the things we're starting to see with frequencies creeping up to the 7 to 10x. Now, how many of you use primarily one channel, meaning email, to prospect and get new donors or cultivate lapsed donors? How many of you use 2 channels? So email and social. How many of you use 3 channels? Email, social, text. How many of you use 5 or 6 channels? Excellent. We're seeing more and more people move to this, because here's what happens. When we see frequencies move from 3 to 5 to 7 to 10x, what you have to do is start to vary your channels and vary your approach. Meaning, you can't just rely on email alone, you can't just rely on SMS alone, you can't just rely on social ads alone. However, when we go to places and we're learning, we still have a giant focus on the big 1 or 2 channels that most organizations use. But how do we tie them all together? And when we look at the traditional funnel or the marketing funnel, right, it doesn't really account for all of the different channel mixes that we need and all the different places we need in order to get those frequencies up. So what do? What is the new way of approaching this? So we call it DPA. At our agency, we call it dynamic path advertising. There's nothing special about the name. We just made it up. So you can take it and steal it and use it and say that you made it up too. So dynamic path advertising is our belief that today's marketing looks less like this and needs to look more like this. How many of you are already overwhelmed and say, I'm out of here, right? This is the truth, though. We think of it as sort of the New York City subway system. I lived in New York the past 8 years of my life before our family, we moved back to Dallas, where I'm from. And this is it. If you look at this, this is sort of the New York City subway system of interconnectivity related to advertising and marketing, right? All of your channels, digital and traditional, can be connected through each other. You can get on and off at any place, but from one place to any other place in the web of things, you can get to where you're wanting to go as the consumer, or the machine can funnel people where they want to take you from track to track, from car to car, from line to line, right? We have these entry points, which are places where you can get on or off. You have connections, which take you in between the 2 entry points. We have landings that are maybe parts where we're not going to get off the train, but we're going to stop for other people to get on or off. And then we have stations that where we actually get to get off the train and go about our business, right? This is the web of social, digital, online advertising, marketing, and fundraising today. Now, some of the things that we think about here. We classify different actions in this whole dynamic path with different objectives. So at our entry points, we're really looking, how do we attract? How do we attract new awareness of our brand or our organization and new interest in it, right? So this is about prospecting and building awareness and attention. It's about brand visibility and using opportunities for future engagement. And once we get people on the train, we want to connect them to other places in our marketing mix. So that's where we start to engage, right? Connecting and intertwining, we're using influence, we're using engagement efforts in our marketing efforts, we're warming up, we're giving information, all of these things. From there, we have our landing points, is where we're trying to multiply and grow. This is the info gathering piece of the golden pyramid, right? There's various interconnected marketing efforts. We're trying to multiply engagement, meaning we're trying to get them to consume multiple pieces of our content, right? Before we're asking them to do anything. We're building brand affinity and building brand equity, and we're trying to get content consumption as our main point of action here. And then finally, our stations. That's where we send them to some landing page, an email, websites, conversion, sign up, give, acquire, buy, purchase, donate, right? These are the pieces of it. So campaigns that we have configured with dynamic path advertising, right, initiate this personalized process. However, they want to enter the pipeline and exit the pipeline. Now, the beauty of the machine is we can push them along however we want them and take them and transfer them however they want to, but they can also move freely at the same time. It's no longer forcing them down a funnel, but however they want to go, we're also having them engage with our pieces of content, right? So now, we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked around how different organizations can climb up the pyramid, climb up the mountain, go down the funnel, any version of Super Mario Brothers that we try to illustrate in the marketing world. But what is an example, right? And so I'm going to walk you through an example of what this looks like for a real organization, but a fictitious example, right? And if it's a little overwhelming, that's okay. It's a little bit meant to be overwhelming to show you what we have to do. So here's the example. Let's say you're Gym Legacy. This is a real nonprofit organization I have the pleasure of sitting on the board for. It's focused on helping communities, primarily mining communities in East Africa, in holistic support throughout the community. So education, human welfare, just general livelihood of community support. So you are Gym Legacy and you're trying to support and build awareness, right? You're having a goat yoga event. And a goat yoga, real thing apparently. I've seen it. I've not tried it. It sounds very stinky to me. But goat yoga event to raise awareness about the new goat ranching initiative that's going to be a self-sustaining business that funds enrollment fees and meals for primary school children in these communities, right? It's sort of how do we create a self-sustaining thing versus continually giving, which they're currently doing to provide meals and education. So let's follow Travis. He's a 23-year-old male who lives in Dallas, and his girlfriend Lacey, who's 21. Are you ready? All right. So you're having a goat yoga event. The entry point. Travis walks into a brand adjacent store. We'll call it something like Lululemon, looking for some clothes with Lacey. He gets served a CTV ad, right? Streaming TV ad. We know that's highly effective. Brady was just giving the stats on that, right? He gets served a CTV ad with an event promotion that focuses on his smart TV and a programmatic display ad on his phone. And because Lacey is at his apartment and on his Wi-Fi, she gets also served these CTV ads when she's watching Travis's TV and then on her own device, right? So we've now engaged them and made them aware because we've gated them and we know that they've been in some place relevant to my initiative. Then we get to the landing point. Travis and Lacey are now aware of the event and visit the event page on Facebook and see some additional info and content videos, right? After watching the videos, they're in the info gathering stage because they're like, tell me more about this organization. Tell me more about said goats. And they visit your website after seeing these ads. So now Travis's device, because you're good marketers and fundraisers, you have pixels set up and conversion tracking set up on your website. He gets pixeled by your website and they're served ads, right? Google ads and other sites promoting the event and the organization's initiative. And after finally giving them enough information and 3 to 5 times, let's say, of engagement, they've searched background. And because they're starting to search for background in your organization and you're running Google search ads, right? They can see the ad, it pops up, they click the Google search ad, you pay $1.50 to Google, and they're on their way to buying tickets to your goat yoga event. Yay, success, right? We're still going here, folks. All right, so after he purchases the tickets, here's where most people miss. Here's another tip. He's excluded from the future targeting for the event. How many of you get so annoyed because you bought something, you purchased something, you attended something, and they're still spending your precious donor dollars marketing to the people that already bought the events, right? So event exclusions and campaign exclusions are equally as important in this whole process, especially as you're trying to now convince them to give money in a different way, right? So he's excluded from future targeting for your event. Check. Travis goes to the event with Lacey, and at the event, Lacey's looking at Jim Legacy's Instagram because she wants to tag them in all the stories she's posting about the cute little goats while she's doing child's pose or something, right? I'm totally not a yogi, so I screwed that one up. But, so she's added to the audience because she's now pixeled because she looked at your Instagram profile. She receives targeted promo remarketing on Instagram for ways to contribute and donate to Jim Legacy, right? And these ads take her to our favorite page, which is the donation page with information. And she donates both based on her and Travis. Now we get a big yay, right? Yay. Job done, right? No. Why? Because they haven't given us more money. We haven't had a chance to upsell them, and we haven't had to give them a chance to do something else, right? So, like a good marketer and advertiser and fundraiser that all of you are in the room, what do we do next? Next, we send them an email, right? They've made a donation. We send them an email or an SMS with the link, thanking them for their donation. When? Not within 7 days, but within, hopefully, maybe 7 minutes, right? 24 hours at best. This should all be automated anyways, right? So in this space, they get a thank you and follow up with a donor email, and now they're in your donor onboarding messaging flow, right? Are we done yet? No, because Lacey clicks in the emails and browses the website, learning how she can spread awareness about Jim Legacy's initiatives, right? She's added to that audience, and for the next 30 days, after her first donation, she sent a video email from the executive director, thanking her for being part of the community, showing her the impact of the organization, talking to her about how far her dollars have gone, but even more importantly, how much further they could go, right? This email thanks her for the donation, the generous donation, and says, hey, here's a new opportunity that we're working on to provide housing scholarships for single mothers to attend the Jim Faceting School and learn how to cut and polish tanzanite in the local community, right? So this is one initiative, Goat Yoga, but it really is the entry point to get to a bigger monthly donation, right? From this email, she decides to donate monthly online. Big yay! Yes, there we go. So then, after all of this, and this is roughly 13 to 14 touch points, now we are in the database. They're now accessible to all points of touch points, both organic and paid in the organization. And they're ready to move forward in the cycle. Now you just have the opportunity to keep marketing and don't screw it up, right? How many of you currently, your donor acquisition funnel looks very similar or aligned with this? How many of you feel like this is pretty representative of consumer journey and consumer behavior today? This is the gap we have to fill. We understand and we believe that this is the way that consumers operate, yet we're not mapping our marketing, advertising, and fundraising initiatives to that journey. And that's what I hope, that if you take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things away from this event, that you can put them into place, because everything that you saw is available to you, not at millions of dollars of budget, but with just simple, modern best practices when it comes to marketing, advertising, and fundraising. How many of you could tell me where marketing and advertising stopped and fundraising started? It doesn't matter. It's all the same today, right? So a couple quick key takeaways as I wrap up my time. Understand and strategically plan to hit all levels of the golden pyramid with your communication and development strategy, right? Through that example, though complex and intentionally complex, right, you hit all levels of the golden pyramid, not just the bottom and the top. You hit all levels of understanding what that consumer journey or that donor journey is, and engage them in multiple touch points with a variety of messages, but all follow their journey in their preferred operation, right? Take the dynamic path rather than the traditional one for your marketing and advertising. Break this funnel. Gen Z already did, like we talked about. Brand and data matter more than anything. Why does that matter? Because with better data, you have better context. With better context, you create more meaning, and with more meaning, you create more value. And the more value you can create for your future donors, the more value they're willing to share with you financially. right? Context creates relevance and increases meaning. That data provides context and helps you become more meaningful to your future donors. So, things to take back. One, is your organization advertising and deploying media differently than it was 1 to 2 years ago? How is your organization diversifying its approach while strengthening its voice? And how do you strategically approach growth within Gen Z in a way that's relevant and dynamic? I hope you have a great rest of your time at NIO Summit. Thank you so much for letting me share with you. Thanks again.